What's going on, guys? It's Mercury and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little different where I want to talk about the meta going forward for Regulation E, because as you guys know, the Teal Mask is out, the DLC for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, at least part 1, is already available, and there's a couple new Pokémon that I want to be talking about, which I will talk about some of them today and a couple in future videos. But today I actually want to go over the top 3 cores that I think are going to be prevalent and really strong in Regulation E. So for the first one, let's talk about Ogerpon. So you've probably heard a lot already about Ogerpon. Now this Pokemon has, as you can see, 4 different forms. It depends on whether you want to give it a mask, one of the 3 that it has available, or whether you want to keep it as regular Ogerpon. The regular form is honestly pretty good, and I might make a separate video talking about all of the different forms, just because Ogerpon seems like it's going to be a Pokemon that will take over the meta. But for today, I just want to talk about a core that I think will be really good. So first off, I honestly think that the Fire type, the Hearthstone, and then the Water type, the Wellspring Ogerpon, are going to be the best 2 forms. So the core that I want to talk about is going to be Ogerpon plus Hyper Offense. So Hyper Offense, typically you see teams that focus on getting out a lot of damage, as the name Hyper Offense states. So that's going to be with things like Tornadus, Chi-Yu, things like that. Just Pokemon that really want to deal a lot of burst damage, essentially, and kind of overwhelm the opponent. Now, you might be thinking, why would you have 2 fire types? I mean, you are a fire type, yes, but you're also a grass type with Ogerpon, so you don't have all of the drawbacks that fire types have. Like, for example, your weakness to ground is just neutral, since you have that secondary grass typing, or fire typing in this case. But definitely, I think that Ogerpon will be fitting on these type of hyper offense teams. And, typically these teams do have like some supporting Pokemon that aren't fully hyper offense but are still relatively strong. So that means you can go something like, you can go Rillaboom, you can go Iron Hands, you can go Iron Hands as well. Probably Fluttermane would be a good one as well, because if you think about it, I keep typing that, Fluttermane, because if you think about it, Tornadus can run something like, for example, Bleak Wind Storm is your attacking move. You would want Tailwind, of course, to support your Pokemon. You would probably run Sunny Day if you're running the Fire-type Ogerpon, especially if you're doing that, plus Chi-Yu. And, who else likes to take advantage of the sun? Fluttermane, because Photosynthesis, of course. But, yeah, I guess for the last slot there, you could probably just go Taunt or something. I think that would probably be the best course of action, because, you don't necessarily always need Protect, and you don't want to be stalling out your own Tailwind by going for Protects and stuff. But this is definitely a really good core that I think is going to do relatively well into the meta going forward. There's been a couple tournaments online, some tournaments that people have been partaking in, like prior to the official release of Regulation E, which is of course October 1st, I think. So I definitely am seeing some trends currently, and I think this will be a decent core overall. Like, for example, you do have like Fake Out pressure with these 2 Pokemon, Rillaboom, Iron Hands, because why would you not run Fake Out if you're going with either of these Pokemon, or perhaps both? Usually you don't see both on a team, but yeah, you get the gist. And Ogerpon is just a crazy Pokemon. You can go Ivy Cudgel, which is usually a grass type move, and this move is just crazy. It's got a high crit ratio, 100 base power, 100 accuracy, and the type depends on what form you are. So if you're the fire form here, you can even go Terra Fire, get that boost to your attacks, make Ivy Cudgel a fire type move. It's incredibly powerful. And actually, fun fact, the masks that Ogerpon can hold actually give all of its moves a 20% boost to power. And that's actually pretty important, because this thing also gets Horn Leech, this thing gets Follow Me, it gets things like, I think it gets Knockoff. Yeah, you can go for so many things. Does it get Spiky Shield, or... Oh, it does get Spiky Shield, okay, yeah. So this Pokemon is just crazy. I think it's seriously going to be an incredible threat. It might be a little too overtuned. I mean, the stats are really, really good. Typically, you won't want to be running like something like max speed, max attack in this case, because you don't have access to the Focus Sash. So if you're going like 110 speed, typically you just want to go. You could go Adamant, or you could go like Timid, and then just go like hit like the bump, for example. You could hit this bump right here. That puts you at 165 speed, and you have the rest to. Oh, actually, not Timid. Sorry. Adamant here, or sorry, Jolly. Jolly might be better, yep. So I would go Jolly or something, and then you have the rest to throw into bulk. You could even go like 156, 156. I think this is a fairly decent setup here, like a decent EV spread for Ogerpon. yeah, you could go something like this and then invest the rest in bulk, for example, or maybe put a little bit more into the HP, put the rest in bulk. But yeah, it's really up to you. Regardless, I think this is going to be a phenomenal core for hyper offensive Regulation E. So yeah, we're going to talk about the next core coming up as soon as I just clear these here. Yeah, so we're going to get rid of that there. The next core I wanted to talk about actually is going to be Alolan Ninetales. So Ninetales, as a Pokemon itself, I mean, it's got pretty much the same exact base stats as Alolan Ninetales. The main distinction though is speed. So this is a different speed tier, puts you at 109 speed, which I think is actually just 1 point lower than Ogerpon, interestingly enough. But Alolan Ninetales as a Pokemon I think is really good. So Terra Water is going to be typical. You have Snow Warning, which means that obviously any team that this Pokemon is going to be on is going to be a Snow team. Unless you decide not to put like other ice types on there, but why wouldn't you? But the Pokemon that I think is going to do really well with Ninetales is going to be Heatran, because Heatran, think about it this way. Let's say you go up against that hyper offense team that I was just talking about before, where, you know, your opponents want to go for Sunny Day, things like that. Let's say you lead Ninetales Heatran, and they lead like Tornadus Chi-Yu or something. Or even if you don't lead Heatran, let's say you lead like, I don't know, Weezing, or whoever you might have. Ninetales and Heatran are very, very complementary Pokemon, and these two Pokemon form a great core. Because, for example, if the opponent's leading with Tornadus or maybe a Sunsetter that has Sunny Day, like with Prankster, for example, then you can actually, like, you can go for things like Aurora Veil. Should probably get the moveset here first that I was thinking. So Moonblast and Protect, probably. Protect. And yeah, I would probably run Light Clay on this if you're using that. But the reason it's a good thing is, let's say they set up Sunny Day, you can either start, you know, going for Blizzards, going for Moonblast. If you don't get off Aurora Veil, for example, Sunny Day does boost your Heatran. So they have to kind of pick and choose whether they want to, you know, turn off the Snow, which would prevent you from going for Aurora Veil, whereas you could go for Protector. I think this thing even gets like Helping Hand. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Ninetales does get Helping Hand access, so that would be really good into Heatran as well, to power up your attacks. Let's say they hit Sunny Day with their Tornadus first turn, you just go Heatran. That honestly benefits you, because you have Heat Wave, you have Flamethrower, whatever you really want to do with Heatran. Typically it's Heat Wave, but yeah, this is just an excellent, excellent core, and I wanted to kind of show you guys as well quickly a Snow team that I had in mind. So I was thinking something like this, Ninetales Alolan, and of course you do have the Heatran on here. If you look at the EV spreads, for example, you do want to hit this speed tier, because this outspeeds things like Urshifu. That's like the main thing that you want to be outspeeding. You're timid, and I think this is an EV bump. No, it's not. Never mind. But regardless, you're a Pokemon that's bulky. You're able to set up the Aurora Veil to support your team, make your team a lot bulkier, get up the Snow, which makes yourself bulkier. Terra Water is there mainly for, you know, to cover your weaknesses, for example, into like Bullet Punches and Iron Heads, Steel moves in general, you don't want to be taking, so you can Terra Water for that. And then you'll have 8 turns of Reflect and Light Screen once you set up that Aurora Veil. I think this Pokemon, it doesn't do much damage, but with Snow teams, for example, you are often just going for bulk, setup, things like that. You can go for Blizzards to go for the freeze, you know, pair it with Iron Bundle, for example. I think that's honestly a decent core. And another Pokemon that supports these well is Landorus Therian. Landorus Therian with Intimidate is excellent, because some of these Pokemon, like, you know, might not have the greatest defense, like, for example, Heatran. Actually, no, Heatran's got a pretty good stat. But Alolan Ninetales, for example, doesn't have the best defensive stat. And with Intimidate, you're able to patch that up. Plus, with screen support, like, you're doing you have so much bulk. So it's a really, really good core that I kind of wanted to highlight there. And another Pokemon that would go well on this type of team would be Urshifu, or any Pokemon really that can set up. So be it the Ogerpon from before that I was talking about, or like Urshifu with Swords Dance. Let's say we have Swords Dance on this set and we get rid of, like, I don't know, Sucker Punch or something. We'll put Swords Dance on this set. With Swords Dance access, you can, you know, potentially go for like Aurora Veil turn 1, try and set up a Swords Dance. And actually, an interesting thing would be Redirection as well. So if you did have any kind of Rage Powders or Follow Me's, those would also suit this type of team super, super well. And yeah, that's just the gist of the Alolan Ninetales. I'm just going to switch this back here to Sucker Punch. And that's kind of the team that I wanted to, or the second core that I wanted to highlight there, would just be the Alolan Ninetales core. So let me just go back in here quickly. We'll take these out. And then finally, the third core that I wanted to talk about would be Trick Room. So, as you all know, one of the new Pokemon in the Teal Mask is Bloodmoon Ursaluna. So let me see if I type Bloodmoon here. Oh boy, here it is. So Bloodmoon Ursaluna is an excellent Pokemon. If you look at these stats, they're really, really good. It might not have the same like crazy bulk that regular Ursaluna has. In fact, I think its HP is a little lower. Let me just double check here to compare the two. Yeah, so its HP is about 17 points lower there, and it's a special attacker instead of a physical attacker. Obviously slightly weaker, and it's in its prominent offensive stat by 5 points. But overall, still really good bulk. Its defense is actually way higher than Ursaluna's, and its special defense is a little bit lower. So there are some things to worry about there, but yeah, we're not talking about regular Ursaluna, we're talking about Bloodmoon Ursaluna. Now, this thing plays an excellent role on Trick Room team. So if we go Trick Room, and we look at the Pokemon that get it, so we're going to sort by base stat total here. Typically you will be wanting to run Cresselia on Trick Room teams, just because of how powerful it is. You have Lunar Blessing, things like that, to support your other Pokemon that, you know, might be taking damage. You're still able to set up Trick Room. Yeah, typically you are going to be going for like Cresselia, for example, for Trick Room, and I think Bloodmoon Ursaluna is incredibly powerful because, I mean, first of all, it's a special attacker, it's got a great ability, it can hit ghost types. I would probably honestly go something like Terra Ghost, or you could even go Terra Fairy, for example, and then I would give it something like either Leftovers, or maybe actually Throat Spray would be a really good item for this Pokemon because you could go Hyper Voice. I know this thing gets access to Hyper Voice. This will hit ghost types, of course, and the interesting thing about this Pokemon is that its ability Mind's Eye is essentially the same as Scrappy, and then like Keen Eye as well. And you also ignore Evasiveness, which is absolutely amazing. So you can hit ghost types and then with your normal type moves, so it's like, okay, what resists normal? Things like Rock and Steel, but then your secondary typing, or your primary typing, I guess, is Ground. So what do you have for that? You have Earth Power, which is just crazy. There's very few things that can switch into Ursaluna. So I guess the general strategy here would be go for like a Hyper Voice to activate the Throat Spray. You can also go for things like Calm Mind, and I guess you would go Protect in the last slot, or you could even go Moonblast, for example. It's really up to you. I personally prefer to have Protect on this type of set because you can go for like Protect Trick Room with Cresselia, of course. Cresselia going to be wanting to run usually things like Trick Room, Lunar Blessing, no, not Lunar Dance, don't make that mistake. Lunar Blessing, typically Moonblast, and then of course, you could go like Helping Hand or something. Whatever you really want to do. You could even go Ally Switch. There's a lot of crazy moves that this Pokemon gets, but Ursaluna is just a really, really good new Pokemon. I think typically you would want to go like Max and just go something like Modest probably, and then just put the last 4 into Special Defense or Defense. It's really your choice, up to you. Another good Pokemon would be anything that can set up screens, so you could even go Alolan Ninetales, like I was talking before, or you could go Grimmsnarl, anything to make your Pokemon even bulkier, but once you're able to get up like Trick Room, start sweeping under Trick Room with things like Calm Mind, and just doing a ton of damage. Oh, and actually I forgot to talk about this thing's other move, which is Bloodmoon. So Bloodmoon is crazy, so it's a signature move. As you can see here, 140 base power. That's insane, that's almost as strong as Hyper Beam. 100% accuracy, so you will never miss this move unless you have some kind of, actually no, Mind's Eye prevents accuracy lowering abilities and moves, so yeah, you're never going to miss this move, but you can't use it twice in a row. That's the only drawback, so it's like Gigaton Hammer from Tigniton. You can't use it twice in a row, so you can't just spam this, and that's why you would never go like Choice Specs, because that has anti-synergy with Ursaluna Bloodmoon's signature move, and yeah, typically, I guess you would probably just go Bloodmoon in this slot, and then probably put Protect in the last slot. Terra Ghost, usually just to get around Fake Outs, fighting type moves, things that threaten you. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really great core as well, and we're going to be seeing a lot of Pokemon under Trick Room that will operate quite well. Another one I wanted to talk about quickly was Vikavolt. I like Vikavolt a lot. This thing has a massive special attack stat, so if you want another good special attacker under Trick Room, it's going to be Vikavolt. And then I guess other good Pokemon under Trick Room would be things like Iron Hands. A Moongus would be great as well. So you can see that this is kind of turning into the typical Trick Room team, also with elements of balance on there. And you might even want to run, you know, something that would be good outside of Trick Room, so you have like a fast mode, something like Urshifu, for example. But yeah, overall, this is a pretty standard 6. Maybe not these exact 6, but regardless, I think that's another great core for Regulation E. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will be making a couple more videos like this, because I don't want to always just do the same type of gameplay videos, but if you guys did enjoy, please like and subscribe, and I am going to keep the content coming for you guys, so please like and sub for that, and yeah, hope you guys have a great day. Peace.